This episode of Passionate Living is sponsored by BBB, Better Business Bureau of Upstate New York, and BAM, Buffalo Advanced Medical Acupuncture.
Hi, I'm Kat Miller. Welcome to Passionate Living. Today we have one of Rifat and my favorite shows that we created in season 5 that we want to share with you and replay, and it's our peace episode. And it is just as timely now as it was when we played this in the beginning of the year. And if you didn't see it, get ready to have your heart open, because this episode was one of the most profound stories that we've told in our entire 5 seasons of Passionate Living. In the interim, Rifat and I are scurrying away to create 2 incredibly impactful, powerful, fun shows for you that I want you to look forward to in the next few weeks. And again, today, just buckle your seatbelt and get ready for a very peaceful ride into Passionate Living. Hi, I'm Kat Miller.
And I'm Rifat Chaudhary.
Welcome to Passionate Living. Today is a very special episode for Rifat and me. That's a topic very near and dear to our heart, as I'm sure it is yours too. And it is our very special peace episode. We have some really powerful people in this episode, some really wonderful stories. Tomorrow's Women, which is an organization out of Santa Fe, and they bring in 6 Palestinian girls and 6 Israeli girls every summer and do an entire program with them. It's remarkable, and we're going to see what they're doing now to help support these girls during this situation, this crisis, this war that's broken out. And we also have a very powerful poem from Amy Gallagher about peace. And, for Rifat and me, we wanted to do this episode. I have light skin, you may have noticed.
And I have a little bit more darker skin than Kat here.
I was raised Christian, found out I had Jewish blood in me in my teens. I guess I'm spiritual more than I am religious, maybe tend a little toward Buddhism.
And I was raised both in the US and Bangladesh, and I was brought up to be a Muslim, and I'm a very religious person. But hey, that doesn't create any barrier between us.
No.
That doesn't make us forced to be on another side. In fact, we're all on the same side, and that's peace and love for each other.
Yes, and that is what the premise of the show is today, that it is a time in the world when media and powers that be seem to be very invested in providing information that polarizes people against each other. Even in our own country, there's a polarization taking place. And we want to invite everybody who's watching today to step outside of having a side and open your heart, open your mind, become more focused on listening, and look at the commonality between all of us who all want a roof over our head, who want our children to be healthy and taken care of, who want our elderly cared for when they're sick. And just look at the common threads that bind us. For you and I, it's filmmaking and our love for the world around us of spreading goodness and light. And, that is, like you say, there is only one side.
Yep. And we treat each other with kindness, courtesy, dignity, and respect.
Yes.
And that's how we all should. And that's our human nature. We don't want to get on each other. We want to be in peace. We want to love each other. Yes. We are social animals. We don't want to be on another side where we're separate from each other. And I'm grateful that, we, as Passionate Living, have the opportunity to speak as freely as we can with our lovely audience over here. We're not controlled by a company. We're not given a set of rules that we cannot use. Maybe there's some slur words that we can't use, but other than that, we are not controlled by anyone else. So we are using this opportunity to spread love and peace. So if there's only one thing that you take away from this episode, is that you are encouraged to use whatever means that you have to yourself, whether that's your phone, whether that's your social media, to spread peace and love, and to possibly help stop this polarization between these 2 sides.
And we thank you so much. And if you have any ideas that you want to share about the show or after the show, please reach out to us. Because as Rifat said, we do have the ability to speak in a different way on the show. We are not under the constraints of any large media companies who are telling us what to say or not to say. And we are grateful to have the opportunity to share with you from a very honest and open place.
Hi,
Terry, it's so good to see you.
really nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really happy you're here.
I'm here with Terry Burnett, and Terry, you do the most remarkable work. I am so moved by what I've seen, what I've heard about you. Could you explain a little bit about your program?
Sure. Tomorrow's Women. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, and the organization started in 2003. And our mission and vision is to empower young Israeli and Palestinian women on both sides of the Green Line, so including Palestine and Gaza, to come together to really dig deep into their feelings of fear and often hatred, to be transformed into partners and even friends, and then to go out into the world and to do peacemaking work.
How did it start? Because this is such potent, important work as we move into the future, because it is up to the children, it is up to our youth to make a difference in the world and to end wars and to find ways to create peace and harmony, and it's critical. Yeah.
And women.
Yes,
Girls
and
women for sure,
women
leading the way.
especially. Yes, exactly.
So I really stand on the shoulders of others. So this organization, again, started in 2003 by 3 women, 2 of them American and 1 Israeli. And it was during the Second Intifada, which was a very violent time in Israel and Palestine. So Intifada means uprising in Arabic. They wanted to do something different. They looked around, saw, politicians, military leaders, government officials, no one really stepping in to make a difference, and they wanted to work with young women. One of them was a therapist, had a lot of work doing transformational, experiential work with young people, and another was an artist. And so they brought together this concept of dialogue and therapeutic and creative art to create this transformational process. And it happened to be here in Santa Fe because one of the founders, they have a beautiful 60-acre piece of property just north of Santa Fe. Wow. And there's something about this place that's really holy and really healing. And, it's called a sanctuary city for many reasons, but I think certainly that's part of it. And so they wanted to bring the young women out of the conflict and here. And they wanted to work with teenagers.
My dad, who was killed 20 years ago by the Israeli soldiers, he was completely innocent. He did nothing. I came to tell those stories and be the voice to those people who can't.
We had an experience with different people with different opinions. We had to know how to listen to each other in a compassionate way. We started to care about each other, really, really caring about each other.
Now, working with these girls, what is the first thing you notice when they get here?
I think it's something that many people notice, is that you can't tell the difference. You wouldn't say, oh, that's an Israeli Jewish young woman, or that's, a Palestinian young woman. They're so much more alike than they're different.
Right.
That's number one. And something that I see that's unique is we work with teenagers here in the United States who are absolutely amazing, and I'm raising one, that they have a level, because I think of the experience that they grow up in. I mean, living in an active conflict zone where sirens are going off, or you're living under occupation checkpoints, that they have a wisdom, and a sense of urgency and a willingness to do very deep emotional work that I think is unique for that age group.
Wow, that's beautiful. Now, what do you do when you take them through this process? What does that look like?
Well, we call it summer camp, but it's unlike any summer camp that most of us would call a summer camp. They'll spend 40 hours in facilitated dialogue. So I bring our staff over, who are both, our staff is split Israeli Jewish and Palestinian, and we bring facilitators over, and they'll spend 40 hours in facilitated dialogue. That room is also called the crying room. So it's intense. They're doing work that most adults never do. That the level of looking at identities and family story and what is the media telling you, and we come from a perspective of you share your personal story. So we consider ourselves, not a political organization. We're not advocating for one side or we're advocating for human rights and justice and peace. And so they tell these stories from a humanist perspective. They're their personal stories, or they're their family stories. And then to deal with a lot of that emotional, energy that gets churned up, then they go to art. And it's creative and it's therapeutic. Although it's not art therapy, we have art therapists who direct it.
Right.
And that's where they can transmute a lot of those emotions. And so some of it's directed. Last year they made beautiful murals, and some of it's just very open art sessions and spontaneous.
So you use conversation, art therapy, different approaches to healing the psyche.
Mm-hmm. And emotional resilience is sort of woven throughout all of that. And there's a lot of one-on-one, a lot of support that goes on. And then they bond socially and like a family. They'll cook together, they eat together, they sleep in the same rooms. And we do ropes courses. They'll go to the circus arts. Wise Fool is a wonderful organization here. So they're doing a lot of this bonding work that's outside of the dialogue and art room.
It was never easy, and we had to overcome all of this to get into the point that we are here to hear each other.
I believe that what we do in the camp is only the beginning, and it's the beginning of a long process that each girl will have with herself.
And we train them to speak publicly. It's their stories. And then they go out and they speak to groups of hundreds, or small. I mean, we spoke at Stanford, we spoke at UCLA, we spoke at the United Nations, or synagogues, at schools, in private homes. And to watch them grow, from sort of, shy and weak to this, commanding a room and answering questions to, people 10, 20, 30 years older than them in positions of power. It's like watching, a flower blossom.
Yes,
and
they step into their power and their leadership skills.
Yeah.
Wow, that's got to be remarkable.
Yeah.
I've been trying to kind of open myself up to a new narrative, one that has room for this conflict that is so complex.
Where are you from is probably the most difficult question I have to face in my life.
I had the trauma inside of me for more than 20 years.
Just let me go. When the lights are gone. Just let me go. When night falls.
One of the differences, I think traditionally for women who've given birth, it's very hard to want to send your child off to war if you've carried a baby, nourished a baby, brought that baby up. And now in our modern day society, men are as well, but just traditionally I'm saying that women, it's different. Once you've carried life inside of your body, you're not so eager to send that life off to make war.
Well, and we also know that when women are involved in peacemaking, that it's likely to be much more durable, long-lasting, and much more inclusive of all aspects of the society that are involved in that. And I think it comes from what you're saying. We want to honor life. We can confidently say that the vast majority, 90% or more of our young women are deeply affected by our programs, and that they're life-changing. And we're seeing that now. We're seeing them galvanize their commitment to peacemaking. We're seeing young women from 10, 15 years ago show back up and say, we want to connect. We want to, what can we do? And sort of recommitting themselves to this work. Everybody knows somebody. And in terms of our Tomorrow's Women family, one of our alums, her father was killed in the fighting. Another, her grandfather is a current hostage with Hamas. Although Hamas released a photo of 3 kind of older gentlemen, and one of them was her grandfather. So at least there's proof of life. And the most tragic is that one of our Gaza girls, so we have a program that we have been, that we created about 4 years ago, and it's been developing and growing in Gaza. And one of our young women, Asma, and her mother were killed in a rocket attack about a month ago.
That's devastating. That's
Yeah.
There aren't any words for it.
Nothing will bring her back.
Yeah. More than ever, the importance of programs like Tomorrow's Women stands out in moments like these. That it is up to our youth to really bring the message of peace to the world, because what we're doing now isn't working very well. And, you know, the elders all involved all around the world. And, you know, that there is a hope, that, like I say, that these young women, that they're still reaching out to each other, that they're in contact with you, that they have this heart center, that they're still more engaged than ever for peace is just so inspiring in the middle of all of this incredible devastation.
And that's what one of the programs that we've responded to the crisis with is a trauma healing program. So bringing expert trauma therapists to engage with our alums and our staff right now.
Oh, that's beautiful. So are they working overseas as well as here in the States?
So mostly virtual. So we have a selection of our expert trauma facilitators, therapists here who are working with them virtually on WhatsApp. You know, they're very comfortable working in that space. And then we've also engaged Hebrew and Arabic speaking therapists for those who need longer term therapy.
Oh, that's beautiful. So that's one of the outreach programs that you're doing then for the girls that are over there.
We're calling it our trauma healing program.
Oh, that's amazing. That's beautiful work. It's extraordinary. And again,
yeah, it's so needed right now.
So needed and so important in the middle of the insanity of everything going on in the world.
Just let me
How could it be that after thousands of years, we are still a humanity embroiled in conflict, warfare, and destruction? How could it be that after thousands of years, millions are displaced, cast aside, lambs amongst wolves? How could it be that right here and now in this world, there are infants and children beneath war-torn rubble? How can it be that we are a golden human tapestry that is fraught and frayed and unraveling? The answer is simple. As humans, It is ever so easy to go astray. It is as easy as closing our heart to another, building a wall. We see this in our world on a macro scale, but if we look into our own micro lives, we will see it there too. And the solution is just as simple. It is ever so easy to go astray, and it is ever so easy to return. It is as simple as opening our hearts again and again and again. In truth, we are all fragile and vulnerable at heart. We are all like infants in each other's care. We may lose sight of who we are, but God hasn't. He sees our true colors, and we can see them again too. We are a multicolored human tapestry, a brilliant spectrum of textures and gradients, shades of coffee and honey, sunshine and amber, fire and ivory, autumn leaves and golden hues. We all have unique backgrounds, threaded from the steps of our ancestors across colorful cultures and continents, stretching across the vast snow-capped mountains and the barren deserts, through the jovial cobblestone streets to the verdant fields of green. Each ancestor enduring their own personal challenges to bring us to where we are, right here and now. And at the core of it all, we are all infants in each other's care. Even the most destructive amongst us, they are not as mighty and monstrous as they appear. They are like infants too, just lost and confused and misguided. For those reaping destruction upon the world, beneath your thick armor and your warfare and your weaponry, God sees your true colors. Beneath your viciousness and vileness, God sees your true colors. Beneath your fierceness and inhumanity, God sees your true colors. And I see them too. You are much like me on the inside. You too sometimes awake in the middle of the night, paralyzed with fear. Your mind churns with anxiety. Your heart pounds, panic surges through your blood. You wrestle with your inner demons too. You too feel remorse tugging at your heart. And as strong and invincible as you might feel now, someday sooner, someday later, the quiet, nimble hand of death will slowly tiptoe forward to claim your kingdom. And it will do so kindly and gently. And there is no arsenal of arms that will triumph over the final call home. In that moment, those who inflicted such pain will be rendered helpless and vulnerable. They will see the entire vista of their lives, and they will shatter into a warm sea of tears. They will account for every hair on the head of those they wounded. They will feel the pain they inflicted upon every human being pierce and sear through the fabric of their being, and their heart will break into a million pieces. The mighty and the fierce, they will become the little and the lowly, and the little and the lowly will rise to their well-earned majesty and glory. God sees you. God sees your infant innocence. Hold each other in kindness. Hold each other in grace. God sees your true colors shining through, and you can too.